Hey everybody, welcome back. Northernland plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. We're gonna just keep riding this Tainted Maggie train. Maybe I could work on my phrasing a little bit. But I played as her last time. We made progress. We got one thing left to go. It seems like, in my opinion, the sensible thing for an individual to do would be to just try to make it work. You know, we already got the muscle memory built in here from never interfacing with any of her mechanics at all, so it should be fine. That being said, I'm looking forward to it. Like, this is a character, I mean, and it's dwindling, but every character remaining, except like Tainted Maggie and Tainted Eve, has some kind of mechanic that makes me want to die. Tainted Lost is just very conventionally difficult. Not to say we can't make it work, because we have made it work. Oh, it's true. However, not easy is also true. Hold on for a moment here. Maybe I shouldn't. But this HP is not long for this world anyway. Why not let it ride a little bit? Tainted Jacob is chased at all times by the ghost of his brother. Very fun character and very strong, but also quite tough to win with, no doubt about that. And then Tainted Eden, I'm not trying to make any enemies. Tainted Eden, I do not like. It's not even too zany, it's just not the way I would want Zane to work, you know? And it's probably ironic, I probably literally suggested, like, wouldn't it be cool if there was a character that was exactly like this? And then they made it, and I was like, oh no! But it's not, in practice, is not what I actually enjoy about the game. And that's, you know, that's for me to deal with, that's for me to reckon. I don't think we're going to get a full Eddie room played here. We do have to do Delirium, and that usually entails doing the Hush fight as well. I don't know how we're going to manage to make that come to pass, but I'm not too concerned about it for the time being, because it's only the first floor. You know, we got nothing to sweat, except sweat itself. Am I really gonna... I think I am, yes. I think I am going to play the Eddie room one more time. 2 more times was in the cards until just a second ago. Then you know what? I'm not going to play it one more time. You quit playing around, you know? Unless... Dude, that would have been freaking sick. I think you got to swing for the fences here. The fences have been swung for. And I think we kind of got ripped off, but at least we do get a half heart temporarily. What's the value of that half heart? Not very much, but it does mean we can get hit by a non-champion enemy without losing our deal with the devil chance, so we can start to rebuild our HP a little bit. Yeah, anyway. You ever think about how stupid sports are? And I know that I'm preaching to the choir here in the nerd corners of the internet, which I occupy and occasionally pander to. But I'm not a jock at all. I do enjoy sports. I would say when I turn on my television, I have like a flow chart, a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If there's something I want to watch, I know it's on YouTube, I go to YouTube. Otherwise, if I'm turning on the television itself, I start with the local channel. Don't mind watching the news on occasion. And we're gonna spin this off. I got a bone to pick with the news, okay? I probably stopped watching any form of television news in the mid-2000s. I was a teenager, and then, you know, I went to college after that. You're like, the only news I need to know is, you know, where's the kegger? And you might say, what about what the price is? Come on, man. It's a flat $10 everywhere. You're gonna try to apply some pricing pressure for a college kegger? I don't think so. Regardless, let me just explore a little bit here. I started watching the news again recently just to stay abreast on what's going on in the community. And I don't want to be one of those guys who says like the news. I'm being very careful with my verbiage here. Why on the local news am I seeing stuff about, like, tragic events that happen in California? You know what I mean? And I'm trying to, because I know how this sounds, but I don't mean like a noteworthy, like, crime or natural disaster or something like that. But the way that the Vancouver news always goes here is like they start local story, you know, crime in the city, heat wave, a dog walked on 2 legs, you know, they do all that stuff. The evil city councilor wants to add a bike lane on a busy street. Is that? But then halfway through the news, for reasons I can't possibly fathom really, except for viewership, it pivots from local news to basically like check out this thing that happened in America. And I genuinely, I have more cynicism about it than about like any phenomenon in my life, I think. That was just terrible damage there, I'll own up to that. So I want to do this. And I know I thought we would maybe do angel deals, but no, I think we're not gonna do angel deals. I think we're just gonna snag Lusty Blood and get the heck out of here. And I'm justifying it like already in my head. That's fine. Not really, but we'll figure it out. I'm justifying it already in my head, right? Because I'm like, oh, you only get 2 HP anyway, so who cares if we only have 2 HP? We only have 2 HP reliably, so who cares if we only have 2 HP containers? But we definitely should be a little cautious here for just a second. I would like the red hearts as well, but we can chill just for a bit. I guess here's where my cynicism comes in. Is it news if, you know, like the other day it was, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but the other day it was like a dog has died in California after being left by a derelict owner in a hot car. And you're just like, I think when you watch that, you're like, you know, you get the reaction that they're looking for, which is like, who would do that? And of course, that's how I feel as well. But then I also have like a secondary reaction, which is like, why is this news in British Columbia? It's not that I'm like, oh, it's wasting my time. It's more like, what kind of emotion are you trying to impart on the audience by just feeding them like an endless stream of tragic news that isn't even from the local area? If it's from the local area and like, you know, tragedy struck today, you know, at Stanley Park, somebody spilled their Four Winds tall can. You know, I understand that's locally relevant. But if it's like, check out this bad thing that happened in like, you know, Illinois today, I just am like, I feel like it's news as entertainment to me. You don't, there's no case where you need to have watched, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no shortage of idiot stuff happening every single day, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So why is the news feeding you this steady stream of, like, negativity? And I think the answer is that, I mean, this is just my hunch, but I think the answer is that people want to be entertained when they watch the news, and as a result, that means the news becomes entertainment, which means, hey, you know, there's not enough cats stuck in trees here. We got to take it to the next level and show, like, some, oh, you won't believe what the heck happened in Belgium today. I'm like, that's not the news. Like, it is if you're in Belgium. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know, it's just weird. Anyway, so that's my bone to pick with the news, is I think that, much like, you know, social media, to some extent, it kind of puts people in a state where they are just constantly afraid, maybe, or at least upset. Like, look at the state of the world. When I was a kid and literally all they played on the news was the traffic report, everything was so much better. Now that I know that there's murders happening, you know, 6 continents over all the time, it's dangerous. Hold, are we still gonna make the Hush? Yeah, we can make Hush. That's not a problem. But sports, that's like one of my next, even if I'm, you know, because I'm not really that invested in the NHL. Well, I don't know. Maybe I will watch the Habs play. It had been like 4 days since a hockey game took place, so I forgot that it was a thing. I watch sports. I'll watch basketball. I'll watch tennis. I'll watch a little golf. Not like, you know, I'm not gonna sit there and watch like the whole, you know, U.S. Open or whatever. But I like, I understand it. It's reality TV with the rule set I understand, basically. It's just a different form of reality television. I gotta try to preserve this deal with the angel, by the way, or deal with the devil. Oh no, well yeah, no, it is a deal with the devil. I forgot we paid for a deal with the devil. So, see what we got here. Slight overpay, but life goes on. But you gotta acknowledge, like, sport is like the exact opposite idea of a meritocracy to me. Not sports themselves. Like, you know, I do think a lot of the, you know, the best athletes rise to the top. This is not like, oh, you know, I was trying to think of a good example. It's like, oh, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is my dad, so even though I can't play basketball, I'm the starting point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't think that happens too much, but the actual rule set of the sports themselves, right? Like, you really think if you hadn't grown up watching football or basketball, or not even just watching, because you might have gotten into a sport when you got a little older, but like growing up with the cultural idea that this sport is like worth watching and it's a billion-dollar industry and it, you know, entertains people and people talk about it, you know, at the water cooler at work and stuff like that. If you hadn't grown up with like that scaffolding around it, do you really think there is an any % chance that football could get off the ground? It's not possible, right? And I'm not saying it's just football. Like, I think it's, this is such an interesting item right now. I think it goes for basically any sport. Certainly, like, because they're pitching new sports now and again, right? Like Spike TV, the television network for men, when it first launched. And again, this is like, I'm increasingly coming to terms with the fact that the mid-2000s were kind of like a cultural wasteland. But Spike TV launched as a network that was like, you know, with guys programming. What kind of guys programming was there? Well, the flagship show, and fellas, don't get too excited, was a cartoon called Stripperella, where a crime-fighting stripper fought crime in skimpy outfits. Also, get this, guys, awooga! She was voiced by Pamela Anderson. It sucked, basically. And then the secondary thing, if you weren't into Stripperella, you know, maybe, hey, it's not that guys stuff. It's not just a cartoon in a, you know, leather pole dancing outfit, you know. It's also sports, but not normal sports like basketball, mostly because those contracts are like insanely expensive. So we invented our own sport called slam ball, which is kind of basketball, but inside of the paint, they had trampolines. What if you use it in this room? I thought maybe it would give us the item pool. So you could actually, it was like a Nickelodeon Guts sort of game, right? Like you could use the trampoline to go super high in the air in order to do a cool dunk. And it lasted like 4 seasons or something, but nobody cared. I think that was just like when the investor money ran out. It's, and if a sport that's literally just popular sport plus trampoline, I'm gonna die. Okay, saved. If a sport that's literally just popular sport plus trampolines can't take off, what chance would you have? Like, people's eyes would glaze over if you tried to pitch them on football in 2021, right? They'd be, okay, get this. So first off, we need a roster of about 70 people. Thank you so much. I mean, it's trash, but thanks for the opportunity. I don't know. Do we take it? What am I doing here? Oh, no. I don't know what I'm doing. I think this is pretty nasty, but we'll give it a try. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Hey, first off, we need a roster of about 70 people. And then, like, you try to push the ball up the field. You got a set number of plays to do it. Like, half the people in the game never touch the ball. They just kind of put their arms up and then, like, run into each other. And I understand this is a simplification, but they kind of just put their arms up and run into each other like over and over again. Well, that is, I don't know what I thought I was going to get there. People would be, and oh, how long does a game take? I don't know, it's like 8 or 9 hours on average. So I think that it would just never take off. And I think the same applies to just about every sport. And I'm not even trying to say like that, I don't feel like I phrase that in a way that is like the least friendly to football. You know what I mean? I feel like I described it in, I mean, I truncated some of the rules because I don't want the bit to go on for 4 hours, but it's a, I just genuinely think that the reason that the sports that are popular today is because they've been popular for a long time. As a result, like, what do you get out of watching the sport? I'm dead. I'm not dead. Let me pause it. The main value you get out of watching the sport is not actually seeing the sport being played for the most part. Because I think if that were true, for me, like, what's the most incredible sport out there? I don't know. It would be something like ski jumping. You know, they go down this ramp. They don't even have frickin' poles. And then they fly through the air like, I don't know if it's hundreds of meters, but like they excuse me, you've taken my HP from me? Okay, I'm dead and deserve to be. We're going to run that back, and I'm going to try to not be stupid this time, if that's okay with you. Like, it's one of those sports that when it comes on in the Olympics, you watch it once every 4 years because you're like, oh my god, this is like, can you believe? Like, how do you even get involved in a sport like that? Same thing with something like luge, I feel, right? Like, it's one of those sports you watch and you're like, this is just an incredible feat. But then, like, you know, baseball, you're not like, wow, look at the fact that he caught that. Well, sometimes you are, admittedly, but I think for the most part, you're like, it's the meta, you know, it's the storyline. I'm a huge Washington Nationals fan. Bill's a huge Texas Rangers fan. It's the Nationals versus the Rangers. You know, whatever team wins 2 out of these 3 games is going to go to the playoffs. The other team's going home with nothing. It's not about the actual actions taking place on the field. It's about the implications of those actions, which is fine, by the way. And I do think if you apply that to like other stuff in life, you would come to the same realization. Like so many video games, the actual, you know, like mechanics of what you're doing are like TFT is such a good example. In the abstract, it's and sometimes in the, you know, in the real, it's the most boring thing you could ever imagine. Like, it's a game where you just buy things, more or less, and then the things that you buy fight. Do you have an influence over how they fight? Not really. No, not directly. You know, there's little things you can do before the fight to kind of like augment how it goes down, but no, based on what you're asking me, the answer to the question would be no. And yet it's engaging to watch, and not to watch, sorry, because that's demonstrably false, I think, but it's engaging to be a part of. It's engaging to play, at the very least. Just want the stats, man. I think we'll just leave. But I'm very happy with Keeper's Elbow. You know, there's things in life that we do because they're innately fun. I'm not going to name them, but, you know, I think a few can probably pop into your head. And then there's things you do in life because, you know, they're recreational, but I feel like the recreation is tied to more stuff around the actual event than the actual event itself. I don't know where I was going with this point necessarily. I didn't, you know, I don't come into these videos purporting to have some kind of like universal coherent philosophy or worldview pointed out. It's just interesting to think of. Like every now and then I just think to myself like, I'm not saying it's just like, you know, the sports I don't like. Hockey is weird, man. It's a weird sport. like, first off, you play it on ice, which is a naturally occurring substrate, to be sure. But at the same time, you know, it really limits your ability to play it in the summer months, right? You don't think that at some point when they invented ice hockey, you know, they weren't like, hey, maybe we should just like make road hockey like the more omniscient form, because, you know, like the roads are in better condition than the ice at most of the parts of the year. But apparently not. And then on top of that, you know, you need a special shoe with knives on the bottom of it to be able to play it to begin with. Like, it's very strange. I'm not against it. It's my favorite sport to watch, and I think that I enjoy watching it. However, do I enjoy watching it, or do I just enjoy when 5th overall pick in 2017, Elias Pettersson, absolutely brain bends Mike Matheson so bad, Mike Matheson goes Hulk mode and has to choke slam him onto the ground, thus souring his employment in the city of Miami, Florida, where he played for the Florida Panthers, being traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins and then being eliminated in the first round of the playoffs this year. Yeah, maybe I enjoy that. It's been suggested. Dude, I don't know. Like, I'm going Angel Deals this time. Why? Because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Does that make you feel better? If I tell you that I don't know what I'm doing either? I'm buying this for the stats, man. I mean, I suppose we actually... Because it didn't cost us anything. It didn't give us the... Where's the stats? Anyway, it's still, like, it's good. Kind of. People said Notched Axe is good now. I never know how often I'm being misled or lied to, but... will allow us to maybe break some rocks we couldn't previously break. I don't know, man. Either way, I'm feeling okay. I mean, wait, hold on. It's a one-room charge now? One-room charge. That's no joke. We can even use that, maybe not here, but like in general, you can use that to fish for like crawl spaces, or even just to break poops. I think just to break poops, like, instead of having to shoot them, there's some value there. Interesting. Probably not to break mushrooms, though. At least I can see my HP on this floor. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's also very good for the exact reason you see before you right now. You can get dim bulb active. Oh, you know what? I just realized we also have sulfuric tears. It's so weird that this actually completely worked out. And what do I mean by that? Well, like, we wouldn't have rolled store credit anyway. What the heck? Okay, that's... I now understand and hate it. I thought that it would... does it get charged up past this? Like, you know what I mean? I didn't realize that, I guess, Notched Axe is like a... It's a literal, like, you can only use it one time? Or maybe it recharges every floor? Certainly, I would say damage-wise, it doesn't seem to be, like, really crushing it here. Maybe in a pinch it could help. I don't know, man. I'm just adrift, you know? I thought I understood how Tainted Maggie worked. I think I do if all we're trying to do is get to the, you know, the chest or something like that. But if you're trying to get to these super late game bosses, I'm getting my butt kicked. I will say that in this context, Plum Flute strikes me as being fairly substantially better than Notched Axe, which is not without merit, I'm sure, but I'm not fully convinced on its efficacy for me as an end user right now. So what's the win glide path here? How do we get to a dub in this one? We're and I know I said this last time, and then it worked out, but barely, and in an unusual way, where like the 9 lives I forgot that I picked up actually like did it for us. But I think we're in a great spot. It's just what we really need is a way, and that's so helpful. Thank you. Even that is helpful. But we need a way to regenerate. We need a way to regenerate HP that is not just Yum Heart. Thank you to Placenta for the extra value there. And 7 seals, like, I'm a believer. I still, like, it's one of those things where I think its effect is difficult to notice, so I think I insult it a little bit. But I certainly do think that it could change things for us for the better. And we got a nice, I mean, both key pieces means, in theory, if we really, and I think this is for the best, but if we really wanted to, we could try not to do Hush, instead do Mega Satan. But I think that that's one of those plays that is cute, but not actually smart at all. And I say that because we probably want to fight Hush, because we do have Keeper's Elbow. So there's all sorts of derivable value there. So we're really just trying to buy pretty much everything on the shop. A Spirit Heart has a very limited usefulness, but... And I am a little lazy. I think the play for us is genuinely, like, Keeper's Elbow is the engine that's going to keep your stats going up, if we can get the money for it, at least. And then beyond that, we want some kind of renewable defensive improvement. And if that can happen, I'm a believer that this run can make it work. Obviously, it's probably not quite there yet. I know what you're thinking. You want to fight Hush, but you're taking forever. We're still on pace for Hush. Around 10 minutes around here is usually what I consider to be normal Hush time. I've never had that verified by, you know, independent sources as being the absolute best way to make sure you manage to fight Hush. At some point, you would expect that maybe there's a secret room, maybe here. No? A second secret room here, possibly. Looking for a yellow circle. There we go. No interest really in playing you, but... Okay. To the next floor, then. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, sports. Love them. Who doesn't? Kind of. Fantasy football is really just like... It's just a jock Dungeons and Dragons. You ever... The fact that there's like... I don't even know if this rivalry exists anymore. Or if it ever really existed in the first place. But the idea of, like, you know, jocks are on one side of the social equation and then nerds are on the other is so funny to me. Because if I showed you, like, the comment histories of people on Reddit and Twitter, and I stripped away their avatar, then asked you whether it was about Dungeons and Dragons or fantasy football, I predict you would get more than 50% right, but you would not get 100. I think you might get in, like, the 60s or the 70s. They sound almost exactly the same. If you ignore the fact, like, if you just did a Control F find and replace, and instead of, like, you know, grab Thor's hammer, you made it like, yo, you can't have Maurice Jones-Drew at wide receiver. Like, you gotta move him off of WR and put him into your flex position, otherwise the Bear D won't, you know, you get the idea. I mean, in both of these, you can concern yourself about the Bears' defense. That's all I'm trying to say. Both fantasy football, this is the Venn diagram. Caring about Bears' defense. Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy football, it's two circles that are completely identical. +2. I'm just going to make my own +2s for that one. I reject your +2s and substitute my own. I want a little money first. I don't know why I said it like that. I want a little money first. Oh, thank you. We do have placenta, so I've been kind of... This whole time, I've been talking about how we need, like, a renewable HP source, and then I was like, you know, placentas over there, like I guess I'm chopped liver or whatever. But money's good for us. We can play. No, saved. We can play this regular judgment. You know, hopefully get mapping, but I would settle for HP if it had to be done. We're now possibly not on pace for Hush, but just this is, you know, slow now, fast later is the idea at least. The other thing is we could use it for Keeper's Elbow, but we need you to pay out. You've taken too long. Breakfast, I don't mind, man. And then, believe it or not, I'm gonna tough this one out. We don't have to make boss rush. We just have to make Hush. Okay, I'm gonna leave myself a slight buffer. Well, very useful teleportation. This is important, though. This floor, like, now, every time you get an arcade, it's like a force multiplier, right? It changes the way you should feel about a floor. Because a floor, you know, in very abstract terms, every floor in Isaac is just like a platform that represents a potential yield. An arcade raises that potential yield. Or at the very least, it potentially multiplies it. Not always, but a lot of the time makes a difference. Okay, we really... It's unlikely, but despite its unlikelihood, we really don't want to, for no reason, screw up our ability to get a deal with the Angel Chance here. That's an easy pop. No. See you never. Goodbye. And may God have mercy on your soul. Probably should have just used the Hermit card immediately, but it's okay. Also, fantasy football, one of those things where... Well, no, yeah, okay, here's what I was going to say, is if I get tweeted something quite rude, and then I check their Twitter feed and I see that they tweet about fantasy football all the time, then I go, oh, don't worry about it, they're just a troll. But in reality, like, for some reason, fantasy football is like, you know, occasionally you see a little bit of that. A lot of sports gamblers, for some reason, are, like, very aggressive on social media. Maybe related to having a passion that has a negative expected yield over time. I guess I can understand that being a nasty cross to bear. But and I apologize if you fit into this group. I'm not necessarily talking about you. If anything, I'm kind of asking you to, you know, you're like the bulwark and the counter example. But college football fans on Twitter are certifiably, like, you could check them into like mental health care for their own benefit, I think. Some of the stuff I see college football fans, woo, it's so good, but also so scary, but also so good. Some of the stuff I see college football fans tweet, and then, like, you check their feed, and their feed is just about, like, you know, 19-year-old student athletes and stuff like that. You just find yourself going, like, this is, like, you gotta tone it down. At least start following, like, an NFL team. Half these guys are gonna work at, you know, Ernst & Young in, like, 2 years, and you're lighting them up on Twitter. So this is scary. I'm using Empty Heart to get to... that's invincibility when we kill enemies. It seems so insanely overpowered here. I'm using Empty Heart to get one extra heart container on this floor. Maybe not every floor. It worked. Then we're gonna Hermit. It's not a boss. It's not a boss. That's incredible news. We even got our Hermit back. Portable slot. Don't really care for it right now. We just want to buy up kind of like all this stuff, I think, just for statistical purposes. And dude, do you see what I see? The effect of Sigil of Baphomet right here. Definitely that's not the way you play that, but we got a beautiful thing going here. I think Hush is in the cards. We might have to put a little bit of a rush on it, but I think Hush is in the cards. Hush is in the card. Hush is in the cards. Sorry, just, you know, I mean, it's a great song. Delight. Necropolis 1. Don't like this guy, so we'll pop that down. Actually, now that I think about it, there's really no reason not to pop that stuff down more reliably now. Or Plum Flute. I don't know why I called it that stuff, but because we don't have Illuminated Bulb anymore. Remember, we don't need to make the Hush fight. We just need... I don't know why I'm talking like Dracula in the media. I don't actually talk like this. It would be too suspicious. I think that's what... You ever notice that, like, the creepiest people... like, not in real life, but the creepiest characters on film, the characters that creep you out the most? That's an interesting idea. Let me just check on the old... Discord here, because I do have a push notification. It's that's Sips Pog. Thank you, Sips. Looking forward to it today. The creepiest people in creepiest characters in media largely are either otherworldly forces, i.e., so evil the very fabric of their being has been compromised, i.e., Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men. Anthony Hopkins from Silence of the Lambs, etc., etc., or are just normal people who occasionally, you know, they hide an insidious secret, right? Like just an aggressively normal guy, like the ice truck killer from Dexter, an aggressively normal guy who actually, oh, by the way, he's... the ice truck killer. And also your brother. I mean, that show was kind of... It was pulpy the whole way through, let's be honest. It's very disappointing that this is our final shop till Hush, but it is what it is. Well, I'm not too upset. We'll still have the blue womb. We'll always have the blue womb. Oh, you cannot be accessed through those means. Forgot what I was talking about. It's you might say that happens a lot, and it does, but I don't think it's related to, like, cognitive decline. I think it's actually just related to, you know, speaking about nothing for, what are we at here, 37 minutes straight with no breaks, except the occasional dead air. That hurts a little, but... Like, legitimately, a common public speaking exercise is, like, could you get up in front of someone and talk about a subject that we give you for a minute without, like, overly repeating yourself, stuttering, blah, 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 blah. That's something that is considered, you know, you can conquer your fear of public speaking if you can start to do that. Literally, that exercise, I guess this is a flex, okay? I'll be the person who says, okay, this is a flex. If you gave me that exercise and multiplied it by 20, if you were like, we want you to talk for 20 minutes about something, I would be like, oh my god, thank you so much. I normally do this 20 times a day, but without a topic. So thank you. I really appreciate the fact that now at least I have something fundamental to, you know, organize my thoughts around instead of, you know, driving through downtown my brain searching for the location through text of what to talk about next, right? So I think we'll just send it here. This would be a wonderful time to get a deal with the angel. And as long as we're thinking, you know, big picture here, would love to get maybe Godhead. Controversially, maybe Godhead would hit the spot. Definitely want a damage upgrade. Rosary's really good. There's nothing wrong with this. And I am fighting you for no reason, now that I think about it, because we've already fought 2 angel statues, but it is what it is. By the way, I have to acknowledge, Sigil of Baphomet, A, is very good, but B, I could have taken it on our run that we won as Tainted Lost. I don't know why I'm saying we. That one was pretty much all me, for better and for worse. And because, like, look, I beat the Beast, or no, I beat Ubermom as Tainted Lost, and then the like to dislike ratio. I know how this is gonna sound, okay? The like to dislike ratio was only like 98.9%. I know it sounds like, oh, I deserve 100%. But usually when you beat like something, fairly difficult as a really tough character, you're in those like low 99.3, 99.4, blah blah blah. I've been doing this for a long time. I just, you know, looked at my instincts and said, like, why is this a little lower than I would expect it to be? And then I looked at the comments, and people were like, he won. And I'm not mad about this, by the way. This is very fair. I looked at the comments. People were like, he won, but he also threw away his free win. It's like he paid for a free win by not taking the Sigil of Baphomet, which admittedly, I forget what my trinket was. Maybe I still had luck at that point. I was, like, hesitant to get rid of it for some reason, but yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Range down. No, thank you. Either way, we're making these characters work. I'm excited for this week. I have to be, like, careful about how I phrase this, because anytime, like, you don't want to be the guy who does sponsored content and then on social media is like, I hated all that sponsored content we did this week. It has nothing to do, it's not like a reflection. We're going to save our money for the next floor on the games that we played last week, but there's a little bit, you know, like, I'm just going to own up to it. How does it happen? You get compelling offers to play games, and then, you know, you don't look at the dates that closely because they're 6 weeks out, and then all of a sudden the week comes about, and you're like, I got a sponsored thing on Monday, a sponsored thing on Tuesday, a sponsored thing on Friday, and schooled on Monday. So I had, like, a lot of... Come on, man. Really? Come on, Ben. How you gonna let Tainted Maggie do you like that? I had a lot of stuff last week that I was happy to be a part of, but also I'm not used to not having that level of, like, agency over my own content. I'm very much looking forward to this week just being able to banter. I feel like I barely got the banter engines out of the blocks last week. Which means, first off, if you're an Isaac viewer on YouTube, you might have noticed the Isaac VODs have been a little slower lately. That's gonna be the norm eventually, but it wasn't planned to be the norm just yet, you know? Well, this is an interesting room. Like, we're not gonna be able to upload one bespoke Isaac video a day, and 2 to 3 Isaac runs from the stream per day into perpetuity. That's just too much. But it wasn't meant to happen yet. It's just like I wasn't able to find the time. Gulp, or marbles, I should say, could be really good here. I think Sack Dagger for a heart. We're unlikely to get another Angel deal to begin with. We're running into enemies constantly. I think this makes a lot of sense. I also... That might not be everybody's favorite move there, but I think if you can gulp the Sigil, we'd be very pleased. But do we care to gulp the Sigil to take any of these trinkets? That's the real question. Not really. Not really. Okay. So we can always gulp the Sigil on a future floor just from, like, ambient damage, maybe? Hush should still be kind of a tough fight, for the record. I'm hopeful that we can get some good stuff, you know, from our shops. Our shop, I should say, because we don't have multiple shops. We're putting a little bit of a rush on for once I have kind of an excuse, because, by the way, where's my red hearts? Not a good room to use this on. But for once we have kind of an excuse because we're losing HP by the second. Okay, this is a much shorter floor than I anticipated. Do we have to make contact damage with an enemy for them to drop a red heart on death? Is that what I'm lacking here? I don't know. As of yet, we have not gulped, by the way, but we're working on it. Full HP. Full HP means get in there, Lewis. Various F1 memes I only understand in theory. False period. Sulfur is really... Sulfur might be exactly what we're looking for here. And we're not giving up, in my opinion, too much HP. I think this is totally fine. So you just gotta be very careful. You can't spend too much time exploring here. This is good enough, because we're losing HP by the second. Sci-Fly is probably the best item in the game. It's up there at the very least. But this is all very pleasing. I don't know if 4.5 volt is going to be good for us, but it's stats no matter what, so we will do that. And we're essentially just trying to buy this place out. I don't even know what this does. Tears down. It's a little devastating. Makes me wish I'd taken false PhD, but so be it. We appeared to also, unless I'm losing it, we appeared to also get a Tears upgrade from buying that, so maybe we'll just say that that came out in the wash. All this being said, like, obviously this is a great spot we're in right here. I still think I'm not sold necessarily on the idea we're absolutely going to win. I will say 4.5 volt sulfur has turned out to be a pretty sizable improvement. And we will get, every time we use it, we get more and more damage. It's a, you know, diminishing returns. But still, does appear to be going pretty well. We need to wait. As soon as, like, he spawns minions, we should get in there. Wait for them to maybe back up a little bit. But getting in there, we get a nice period of invincibility, followed by, you know, a cluster of flies all dying. Yeah, I am ashamed of my words and my deeds now. We absolutely will win. It's pretty much the ideal Tainted Maggie Hush fight, I think. I have nothing to offer that's negative about this. We can even start to charge up Yumheart. Once we're, like, if Sulfur's tapped, we get 4.5 volt that will start charging up Yumheart. So I'm kind of just chilling here. I feel like we might as well use Yumheart when we lose our next half heart to deprecation, or depreciation, I should say. No need to use sulfur again. Okay, so actually 4.5 volt also probably won us the game. Knowing now that just essentially by doing damage we can generate more Yumheart charges in the perpetuity. Not to mention we have Sci-Fly. Okay, yeah. Why you have my permission to be slightly mad. Not very mad, but slightly mad at the fact that I said, like, we might not win. Sci-Fly, 4.5 volts, super sulfur, Yumheart that actually recharges over time. We're gonna be completely fine. There's no doubt about it. Might as well get in there. Yeah, that was pretty good. Now we must go fight Hush. Delirium, I mean. Yeah, this seems pretty solid. And I think we won't worry too much about ensuring that we fight Delirium themselves last. I think it does not matter. We didn't just beat Hush, it was kind of like a dismantling. So I stand by our decision to just kind of send it. And again, I don't think we really need to worry about using sulfur en route either. We can just, you know, walk into enemies and kill them. Bold choice, but it appears to be working out. We got Yumheart backing us up if we ever fall a little low. Delirium? Da mom's hearty. Well, we can afford to send a single sulfur. Sci-Fly is such a comically great item. It's like, it just makes me laugh, you know? The fact that, like, and I'm not trying to influence, like, the future of this game. I'm so happy it exists. But the fact that any item in the game got nerfed, but Sci-Fly, like, exists is hilarious. It's great as well. Very helpful for me, but also a little hilarious. Oh no, I've been hit. Excuse me, thank you. Remember when I was excited that we got 7 seals? It's a fun item and is pretty good. But I mean, come on. Everything else we've gotten subsequently makes 7 seals look a little bit inconsequential in the whole scheme of things. Interesting. There's a temptation in my head to actually use magic skin, but I'm just trying to think about where we would do it. Like, where would we get the maximum yield out of magic skin? And it's like, if we could find a secret room, in theory, we could just let it fly. But, you know, for now, let's not worry about it too much. We did get Bookworm. I am not upset about Bookworm. I've reached that point on every probably one Isaac run where I'm starting to just think about lunch in my head. I'm like, oh man, I got this Lamb Verde street wrap just burning a hole in my refrigerator right now. You can heat it up, you can eat it cold. NL, you've been using your air fryer lately? Yeah. I've been using the air fryer, I've been using the Instant Pot. I've been using all the kitchen gadgets, man. Last night, made that binging with Babish pasta alio e olio again. Delicious. Very easy to make. A couple nights ago, crispy Brussels sprouts, potatoes in the air fryer. A little steak to go along with it. I'm not going to belabor the point because I already said it on stream. I cheaped out at the grocery store and thought I was getting sirloin steak, but actually I was getting sirloin tip, which bizarrely is a worse cut, and I should have known. It was like, you know, the price just didn't make sense, and you know, in The Simpsons where Principal Skinner gets the fruit basket, and he goes, "Oh, Valencia, that's a juice orange." That's how I was when I finally got home and I started cooking. And I looked at the meat, I was like, "Sirloin tip, that's a stewing beef." I'll take my -2s on that one with pride. Doesn't bother me. Everything, by the way, still fine. Just get your HP up. You know, Yumheart's getting... Yumheart will charge more on bosses than it does, you know, just against these basic rooms right here. So don't worry about that too much. We'll definitely start... That's not Delirium. So I was originally gonna be like, I'm not gonna fight them, but that's like just hubris. You should just go through with it. I actually, believe it or not, I think that when we use sulfur, I think that 4.5 volt charges faster based on the damage we're doing as a result of having used sulfur. You know what I mean? So I think there is a synergy there to a high degree. Ace of Clubs beats Temperance, I suppose. Okay, Delirium. Forgot about how this item worked for a second. We have already glitched them. I don't know what happens after that. Thanks for the red heart, though. Oh, and the Eternal Heart? Sure, don't mind if I do. Keep them rolling, because we want to get as many... sulfurs out there as possible before we have to use any Yum Hearts. Sci-Fly doing incredible work. I don't know where all the red hearts are coming from, but I'm not complaining. I'm a-looking and I'm a-liking. Ben Stiller, meet the Fockers. Sci-Fly will not protect us from contact damage, and I, for one, think that's unacceptable. I think the item could actually use a little bit of a buff. I know lots of people are talking about a nerf. I don't think so, you know. I think you just don't know how to use it improperly. If you use it improperly, it can be quite disappointing. Of course, if you're using it the way it's intended to be used, you know, you're going to be impressed with its words and its deeds. I'm going to go one more here. Yes, it's a satire. I'm just waiting for Yumheart to be charged now. I mean, this is a run that you can dream of. I did just use Sulfur again. I apologize, but I also don't. Because we did get back to full HP regardless, which means we can use Sulfur again. Thanks for the 0.47 damage. Even, like, between Sci-Fly and Sack Dagger, it's, like, almost impossible to be hit by a bullet. At this point, again, every time I fight Delirium, I just have to acknowledge, man, oh man, they did an awesome job with the Repentance bosses. Because this is, it's just weird. You know, I've done this fight 200 times. I still have no idea what's happening at all. It's like an RPG boss where you just gotta, like, make sure you got the damage and HP necessary. I think I gulped my trinket. I hope I gulped it, because it's a pretty good one. Not that it's too relevant for us right now. Anyway, thanks for watching. This was a good one, and Tainted Maggie is now checked off the list. We got hypercoagulation. If you enjoyed it, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. And check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/NorthernLion. I'm live every weekday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. See you over there, and the real game begins now. See ya.